Not one caress, not a blade of grass. This land is all I know. We gonna make it somehow. We will bend like a bow and never break. Our fathers came here and they lived and died here, and we ain't moving nowhere. Make no mistake, 'cause we ain't giving up no mountain. We ain't giving up no tree. We ain't giving up no river that belongs to we. Not one blue sake, not one rice grain, not one caress, not a blade of grass. We love the open country of the Rupununi and the Essequibo, the time when
Good afternoon, everyone. Here present in the Parliament Chamber and viewing us online. Welcome back to the quarterfinals. This afternoon's debate will bring the curtains down on in this round of the competition. This morning, we witnessed the Golden Ohm Dharmic Youth Organization versus the Young Professionals Youth Group, and Golden Ohm emerged the victors of that competition. Our esteemed judges for this afternoon are Dr. Valerie Gorasamy Smith. She is our chief judge, and Dr. Smith has been an educator for over 42 years at all levels, the primary, secondary, and university levels in our education system. She has been a CXC English A and B and mathematics teacher for over 35 years and an English lecturer at the University of Guyana for over 20 years. Dr. Gorasamy Smith is the director of the Berea Royal College International and has been in the pastoral ministry for over 21 years. Dr. Gorasamy Smith is a two-time winner of the University of Guyana's Interfaculty Debating Competition and is also the founder and coach of the course Mastering the Art of Public Speaking. Our second judge, Mrs. Melissa Dow Richardson. She's an alumni of St. Stanislaus College, the University of Guyana, in both history and law, University of the West Indies, International Relations, the American University of Peace Studies, Psychology, and the Caribbean Leadership Program. A former multidisciplinary national athlete in table tennis and basketball, her sport credentials include Olympic certification in sports administration, World Anti-Doping Agency Certified Doping Control Officer, and Guyana's first and only Level 2 Doping Agency Certified Doping Control Officer. With a professional background in journalism, education, international relations, business management, community development, and coaching, she serves as the Assistant Director of Sport at the Ministry of Culture, Youth, and Sport. Our third judge, Ms. Miracle Miller, who is an active volunteer of the Georgetown Stabroek Leos Club, where she enjoys assisting persons. Her love for the English language propelled her to the position of Best Graduating English Student in the year 2012 when she completed her high school diploma at Christ Church Secondary School. Ms. Miller, in 2016 and 2017, participated in a youth training program which saw her become an ambassador of Guyana to the United Nations Youth Assembly. In 2018, she copped the Best Debater Award for Youth Parliament, and today she holds a bachelor's degree of engineering in applied and exploration geology. Ms. Miller holds a firm belief in serving her country. Our debating teams for today, the proposing team is the Bartical Youth Group. This group was established by Mr. Erwin Ward on the 20th of March 2020. The objective of the group is the resuscitation of Bartical's local culture through song, dance, poetry, among others. Therefore, the group has held several shows and competitions to highlight and showcase the talent which was lying dormant in the township. Notwithstanding the main focus, since its formation, the group has been assisting with voluntary work throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. The first speaker of the Bartica Youth Group is Miss Shania Straker, 18 years old, from 2.5 miles Patara Road, Bartica. The second speaker, Miss Carlita Williams, 32 years old, 6th Avenue, Bartica. The third speaker, Miss Shaquila Murray, 17 years old, from 4 miles, Bartica. And who the opposing team is? The opposing team is the Small Steps Big Impact Youth Organization. This organization is comprised of exuberant and resilient youths spanning from Zeeland to Virgin Nugent. The organization's aim is to promote, nurture, cultivate, and foster a better generation through self-development, empowerment, and basic life skills among youths in an inclusive society. Their first speaker, Ms. Malika Russell, 24 years old, from Kwakwani, Barbies River. Their second speaker, Mr. Calvin Roberts, 27 years old, from Zeeland, East Bank, Essequibo. And their third speaker, Mr. Gavin Thomas, 27 years old, from Bushlot, Essequibo Coast. Our moot for this afternoon's competition: Guyana's youth should undertake national registration to be heard. I now declare this debate open, and I call on the first speaker of the proposing team, Ms. Shania Straker from the Bartica Youth Group. Shania?
All protocols established, I, Shania Straker, fourth speaker of the proposition, stand here today to commence my team's argument in agreement with the mood that reads, and I quote, Guyana's youth should undertake national registration to be heard, end of quote. Audience, before I progress into my speech today, I will define the key terms and phrase in the mood in order to bring clarity to your learnership. Youth, according to Collins Dictionary, a period between adolescence and adulthood, aged from 14 to 35, should, used to indicate obligation, duty, or correctness. National registration, according to the Oxford University, the process of documenting persons as a legal citizen of a country. Hard, listen or paid attention to. Judges, from the age of 14 and onward, it is your given birthright as a citizen of Guyana to be nationally registered. So, youths, would you not want to stamp your authority? Being nationally registered is your way of saying, I'm here. I have judgments to put forward in voting. I want to start my own business. I want a job. Remember, birth certificates can only go so far. At the end of the day, you need an ID card for important transactions. Opposition, who are all in the category of youths, isn't voting a way of your voice being heard? According to Caribbean elections, Friday, 20th of May 2022, and I quote, every person may vote at an election if he or she is 18 years and upward and is either a citizen of Guyana or a Commonwealth citizen, domiciled and resident in Guyana, and is nationally registered. End of quote. Audience, it is very much commonsensical. You have to be nationally registered to be able to vote. So as a youth in Guyana, this opportunity is given to let your voice be heard. Madam Chairperson, an article published by News Source Guyana, dated 26th of April 2015, spoke about the U.S. envoy said to the youths in Guyana about exercising their constitutional right to vote. And I quote, when Guyanese head to the polls on May 11th, close to 60% of the more than 500,000 eligible persons of the voters list will be between ages of 18 and 35. Guyana's youth population will make up the biggest part of the voting public and will serve as the key demographic that could swing the elections. Several youth groups and organizations have launched various campaigns to encourage youths to vote. The United States government is supportive of those efforts. charged the affairs at the U.S. Embassy in Georgetown, Brian Hunt, told news source that youths need to head to the polls and exercise their franchise since it gives them a say in the development of the process of the country. End of quote. Honorable judges, voting gives you a say in your country and establishes a right as an individual and a right to determine the future of this country. It is absolutely important that young people recognize that voting is their way of having a say, a voice to be exact. If you want to be a part of the voting process and you want your voice to be heard, you must undertake national registration to execute that constitutional right. In an extract taken from a letter to the editor of Starbuck News written by R. Small on the 7th of February 2019, and I quote, the youth of Guyana have an opportunity to demand that our collective voice is heard and accepted upon. We have the opportunity to fulfill the dream of our foreparents for a peaceful and prosperous united Guyana. We have the opportunity to demand and begin the transformative change. End of quote. What the writer is speaking about can only be brought about by our youth taking responsible steps, and that steps begin with undertaking national registration. Intelligent members of the opposition, given that our population is lopsided in favor of the young demographic, the above ideas were reflected in the change of government. Audience, Guyana's youth should undertake national registration to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Shania. I now call on the first speaker of the opposing team, Ms. Malika Russell from Small Steps, Big Impact Youth Organization.
Right, sir.
Thank you. Our protocols established. Today, my team and I confidently refute this moot that states, and I quote, Guyana's youth should undertake national registration to be heard. I will first define the key words that shaped our team's argument. According to Guyana's 1994 youth policy, a youth is defined as those individuals aged 14 to 25. Should, defined by the Oxford Dictionary as used in auxiliary function to express obligation or condition. Undertake, defined by the Merriam-Webster, to put oneself on the obligation to perform. National registration, defined by the National Registration Act of 1967, defines national registration as the establishment of a national register for the issue of identification cards and the purposes therewith. Heard, defined by the Oxford Dictionary, to listen or pay attention to someone or something. Today, we interpret this mood to mean that in order to be heard by law enforcers, policymakers, and the public, an individual must satisfy an initial condition. This condition being GCOM's national registration as outlined by the National Registration Act of 1967. To be heard, it's a basic human right. And as established by the International Declaration of Human Rights, Chapter 12, it is important that youth's voices be heard in all aspects of life, whether political, as a member of civil society, or on matters pertaining to law. As the first speaker, I will focus on youths being heard politically. The second speaker shall elucidate being heard as members of the civil society. And the third speaker shall expound on youths being heard on matters pertaining to law. It is embedded in our Constitution in Article 146 that allows every individual the right to be heard, to express and share opinions without any interference. I repeat, without any interference. Whether informal or informal interactions, advocacy is needed, and the right to be heard cannot be withheld because of the registration criteria. But it is important, and we agree with the proposition that one should be registered to vote. However, this is not a case where we're discussing whether one should vote or not. It is simply whether individuals should be denied their right to be heard or not. But under what circumstances is a national registration a prerequisite? According to the Guyana Elections Commission, upon completion of the registration exercise, an individual will be issued a national identification card that allows them to identify themselves when transacting businesses or accessing services, such as applying for a TIN certificate, a passport, a driver's license, and to vote at an election. Members of the proposition, Guyana is an inclusive, secular, democratic sovereign state as enshrined in our Constitution of 1980, Chapter 1. It is on these grounds that regardless of one's age, their sex, ethnicity, or religious beliefs, that in democratic countries such as Guyana, that people have the power to participate in decision making without any interference. Our leaders represents the interests of all Guyanese. I repeat, all Guyanese, which includes children, young adults, and youths, which also includes the registered and the unregistered. And in democracies where our leaders are ultimately responsible to all the people that they represent, where policies are made that affects us all in different masses, sometimes they may be unaware of how these effects are impacting people. And in a democratic country as Guyana, youths have the right to voice their opinions without interference, not even a national registration process, as outlined by our Constitution as well as the International Declaration of Human Rights. Therefore, I submit to you that youths have a voice and should participate in the registration exercise. However, this process is not a precondition for which youths should be heard. I thank you.
Thank you, Malika. I now call on the second speaker of the proposition, Ms. Carlita Williams, to make her arguments. Carlita, you'll have to restart. You're muted.
Madam Chairperson, honorable adjudicators, colleagues of the proposition, learned members of the opposition, attentive viewers, patient timekeeper, a pleasant afternoon all. I, Carlita Williams, the second speaker of the proposition, rise to further convince you of our team's steadfast argument that support the moods which read, and I quote, Guyana's youth should undertake national registration to be heard. Well-read members of the opposition, please allow me to share with you factual information that will dissipate any doubts you may have on this issue. Madam Chairperson, my argument will reinforce what our first said about the importance of being registered. According to the Oxford Dictionary, national means relating to or characteristic of a nation, common to a whole nation. Esteemed members of the opposition, in order for you to be heard as a Guyanese, you must be registered, since being registered gives you an identity. As a registered citizen of a country, you become a direct beneficiary of the patrimony of Guyana. You will receive free education from nursery to secondary. You will receive, or you will be eligible to apply for scholarships under the government to study at the tertiary level. You will receive old age pension when you have acquired the eligible age, just to name a few. Madam Chairperson, I ask this question. Can an unregistered alien have access to these very benefits without proper documentation? No, they cannot. They must be in receipt of the required documentation. So members of the opposition, doesn't this show that in order to have a voice, you should be registered? I think it does. Madam Chairperson, the opposition will argue that one does not need to be registered nationally to be heard. But if you want your voice heard at the national level, you must be registered. Article 155 of the Constitution states, no person shall be qualified for election as a member of the National Assembly who who is by virtue of his or her own act under any acknowledgement of allegiance, obedience, or adherence to a foreign power of state. On the 1st of September 2020, an article published by the newsroom headlined, Clerk of National Assembly wants proof MPs have renounced foreign citizenship. The returning MPs who are identified to have dual citizenship and committed to renouncing it are incumbent opposition leader Joseph Carmon and Minister of Governance and Parliamentary Affairs Gail Tashiro. They were both forced to resign from Parliament in 2019 following the Court of Appeal ruling. New MP Lennox Schumann also relinquished his foreign citizenship to contest the 2020 elections after he was initially barred by the Guyana Elections Commission from heading the list for the Liberty and Justice Party, which he formed. Honorable judges, the Constitution of Guyana prohibits the holder of dual citizenship from serving in the National Assembly. In 2019, during the life of the 11th Parliament, Guyana's Court of Appeal had conclusively ruled on this matter, in which it stated that a person who holds dual citizenship is not eligible to sit as an MP in the House. This is saying to us, intelligent members of the opposition, that in order to sit in the House and have your voice heard at this level, you must be a registered Guyanese citizen, not a Canadian citizen, not a US citizen, but a Guyanese citizen, honorable judges. Is this not evidence of the importance of national registration? Madam Chairperson, as I conclude my argument, allow me to share with you two youths who are serving members of Parliament who provide objective, administrative, and technical support to the constitutional functions of Parliament and people of Guyana. The Honorable Minister within the Ministry of Housing and Water, Susan Rodriguez, and the Honorable Director of Finance, a youth from the township of Bartica, who are registered citizens of Guyana, and whose voices are being heard at the national level. They make representation every day by virtue of the offices they hold to be heard. Honorable judges, these are youth who undertook national registration and are being heard at the highest level in this very House. Would an unregistered youth be able to sit in Parliament and speak on the affairs of our country? Certainly not. And simply because without registration, you do not have the identity to do so. Here it is clearly shown why youth should undertake national registration. Intelligent members of the opposition, aren't you registered citizens of Guyana? They do not have to be registered to be a part of the Speaker's national debating competition. Are your voices not being heard as you argue the move this afternoon? Yes, yes, and yes, which proves my team's argument that Guyana's youth should undertake national registration to be heard. I thank you.
Thank you, Carlito. And now for the second speaker of the opposing team, Mr. Calvin Roberts from Small Steps Big Impact Youth Organization. Calvin.
Thank you, Madam Chair. All protocols observed. I rise to further refute the myth and convince you that Guyana's youth should not undertake national registration to be heard. I will now elaborate on youth being heard as members of the civil society. Civil society includes members in the society, and this includes both our youth and adults. Who has a voice? It is not limited to those members of society who are eligible to undergo the national registration process. Honorable judges, over 50% of Guyana's population are youth. And they make meaningful and significant contribution to the development of our country. Youth lead organizations, they voice their concerns, they voice their opinions, and they help in promotion of sexual reproductive health, women's rights, human rights, mental health, youth leadership, and other issues affecting them. The method in which they communicate and advocate for these social issues cannot be ignored through social media influences, national and regional essay competition, and the Junior Youth Parliament debate competition. Today I ask the question, What is the purpose of the junior category youth parliament debate if these unregistered youth right to be heard is solely dependent on the national registration process? Distinguished judges, if the proposition theory is correct today that an individual should comply with the registration process, tell me, what about our foreigners? Are the members of the opposition telling us today that they would not be heard if they should be robbed, raped, abused, or even taken advantage of? What about the migrant refugees, our Venezuelans? Are the opposition telling us today that their struggles should be ignored, that we should not pay any attention to them? What about religious groups who do not participate in the voting exercise, such as the Jehovah's Witnesses? Are the members of the proposition telling us today that they would not be heard if they do not vote? Most passionate and concerned proposition. Could we consider for a minute our indigenous brothers and sisters who live in the hinterland areas who are not afforded the opportunity to undergo national registration process? Could we show some concern for those youth who resort to the interior for job opportunities? Distinguished judges, are the members of the proposition saying that unregistered youth should not be allowed to attend and share their views and recommendations at consultations made by policymakers? To this end, honorable judges and most learned members of the proposition, political leaders are elected to represent the interests of all people, which include the registered and the unregistered. Therefore, the right to be heard cannot be withheld because of a registration process. I thank you.
Thank you, Calvin. I now call on the third speaker of the proposing team, Ms. Shakila Murray from Bartica Youth Group. Shakila.
Judges, patient timekeeper, members of the opposition, fellow members of the proposition, Madam Chair, special invitees, online viewers all, good afternoon. I, Shakila Murray, stand here as my team's final speaker once again to cement our argument on the moot which reads, and I quote, Guyana's youth should undertake national registration to be heard, end of quote. I'll be approaching this moot from the business perspective. Madam Chair, in present times, we're seeing that majority of youths in Guyana are aiming to start their own business rather than solely being employed at a typical 9-to-5 job. For most of them, they'll seek funding for the startup, and here is, in most cases, where the Small Business Bureau comes in. Unfortunately, in order to obtain a loan or cash grant from the Small Business Bureau, you're to provide documents such as a TIN certificate, GRA compliance letter, NIS card, etc. In such cases, your ID will be required to obtain these documents. Without these, you can't apply for a loan or cash grant, which, especially if that was your only option for financial aid, you're left waiting until you're registered to continue. I say this to highlight that I myself am a youth who wishes to start my own small business, but given that I'm yet to receive my ID, the process is currently on hold. Permit me, learned judges, to introduce an article produced by Sabrook News written by Wal Lucas on the 17th of January 2016, which speaks small businesses in Guyana. In the above mentioned article, he went on to say, and I quote, while small businesses may not generate as much money as large corporations, they are actually a critical component of and a major contributor to the strength of local economies. End of quote. This brings into focus how beneficial small businesses can be. You see, members of the opposition, being an established business owner, you have the opportunity to be heard in a sense that you can use your business as a platform. In that instance, you and your business will have one identity, which is whatever your platform advocates for. An example of this is our very own Calvin Roberts, second speaker of the opposition. Mr. Roberts, correct me if I'm wrong, but you do have an identification card, and that has helped you in some way or form in the establishment of your business, correct? In an article article produced by Guyana Chronicle on the 27th of January 2021, you said, and I quote, "As my business progresses, I will venture to where the need is great. It is about promoting and upholding Indigenous lifestyle, culture, and tradition," end of quote. Attentive online viewers, Mr. Roberts, owner of Calvin's Indigenous Cuisine, has established a platform through his business which advocates for the sustainability of Indigenous culture, tradition, and lifestyle. So he is being heard in that sense. He has his own business and he contributes to the local economy, right? So all of that was possible only because you undertook national registration. Simply looking at it from an economic view, you got registered, acquired your identification card, acquired necessary documents, established your business, and has an active platform which stands for our Indigenous brethren. So, Madam Chair, being registered gives youth the ability to be heard from a legitimate economic point of view. Thank you.
Thank you, Shakila. And now for the final speaker, the third speaker of the opposing team, Mr. Gavin Thomas.
Thank you, Ms. Charles. I stand before you to seal my team's argument that Guyana's youth should not undertake national registration as a precondition to be heard. I will emphasize on youth being heard on matters pertaining to the law. Guyana signed and ratified the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, which protects the interests of persons under age 18. The convention establishes the rights of persons to express their opinions and have these opinions acted upon when appropriate. The Constitution of our country, Chapter 301, provides liberty, security of the person, and protection of the law. Listening audience, this simply means that no matter one's age, the law is equally available and should be accessible to all. The Child Care and Protection Agency Act of 2009 and the Evidence Act of Guyana allows the persons within the youth age to be as the subject, the witness, and aggrieved party in legal proceedings. Members of the proposition, are we now saying that if an individual is unregistered, and let's just say they don't reach the registration criteria, they should not be heard? What about if they're abused, if they're raped? What about if they witness a murder or a robbery? Are we saying that they should not be heard? They would not be able to make a police report, give testimony simply because they're unregistered? UNICEF noted that 83% of child sexual abuse occur between the age of 8 to 18. Are we going to shun and silence these persons because they're unregistered? What about youths living in abusive homes? Are they to endure exploitation or other ill treatment until they reach this criteria? Listening audience, are we seriously proposing that law enforcers and policymakers should not act in the best interest of our youth to protect and assist them because they're unregistered? The Protection of Children Act of 2009 extends to social workers the powers through court orders to access to children who are at risk, to assess the need for protection and to remove them for an interview. I said an interview. So according to the law, youths shall and must be heard. If we say the criteria to be heard is a national registration process, then the human rights, especially if that of the youth, will be eroded since they will not be privileged to speak. This will make them vulnerable, and they can be taken advantage of simply because they cannot share on issues that are affecting them, and they will not receive justice, sadly, in our country. Members of the proposition, as the youth would say, make it make sense. Today is Friday, it's a school day, but definitely the maths in, maths in. The first speaker of the opposition spoke on youth being heard politically. The second speaker spoke on youth being heard as members of the civil society. In order to support the rights of youth, their voices on challenges affecting them must be heard in all facets of life. Learned judges, if we are to agree with this moot or to propose this moot, this would simply mean we withdraw human rights, we take away civil rights, and we breach the law of this country. Therefore, again, we say, the youths of Guyana, Guyana's youth should not undertake national registration to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Gavin. And there we have the first set of arguments for and against today's moot, which reads, Guyana's youth should undertake national registration to be heard. We will now take a 5-minute break to allow our debaters to prepare their rebuttals. On behalf of Honorable Manzoor Nadir, Speaker of the National Assembly of the Parliament of Guyana, I bring greetings to all present here and virtually. He wishes both teams well. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker could not be here, but he is following the debates. Also following are a number of members of Parliament of Guyana, and Honorable Member Nema Flu Best brings her greetings to both teams. I go to some online comments from our viewers. Vlesas is saying, commending Coach Valerie. He was one of your students, so he's commending your good work. He's also commending all the debaters for a job well done. Sion Ashley is saying this is great work. Lisa is saying, I'm so impressed with these youth. Their level of research and presentation are admirable. Desmond is commending one of the debaters. I will not say the name now. But many of the comments go towards commendations of the work done by the debaters. To remind you of our judges for today, our chief judge is Dr. Valerie Gorosamy-Smith. She has been an educator for over 42 years at the primary, secondary, and tertiary levels. She has been a CXC English A and B and mathematics teacher for over 35 years and an English lecturer at the University of Guyana for over 20 years. Dr. Gorosamy-Smith is the director of the Berea Royal College International and has been in the pastoral ministry for over 21 years. She is also a two-time winner of the University of Guyana's Interfaculty Debating Competition and founder and coach of the course Mastering the Art of Public Speaking. Our second judge is Mrs. Melissa Dow Richardson, an alumni of St. Stanislaus College, the University of Guyana, University of the West Indies, and University of Peace Studies. She's an expert in history and law, psychology, international relations. She is also an athletic, a former multidisciplined national athlete, table tennis and basketball. And she is the assistant director of sport at the Ministry of Culture, Youth, and Sport. Our third judge is Miss Miracle Miller, an active volunteer of the Georgetown Stabroek Leos Club, where she enjoys assisting many persons, even Guyana's youth. Her love for the English language propelled her to the position of Best Graduating English Student in the year 2012, when she completed her high school diploma at Christchurch Secondary School. In 2016 and 2017, Ms. Miller participated in a youth training program, which saw her become Guyana's youth ambassador to the United Nations Youth Assembly. In 2018, she copped the Best Speaker Award for Youth Parliament. Today, Ms. Miller holds a bachelor degree of engineering in applied and exploration geology and holds a firm belief in serving her country. The two teams today, the proposing team is the Bartica Youth Group, and the opposing team, the Small Steps, Big Impact Youth Group. 16 youth groups entered the competition. The first round saw 8 debates, and so 8 winners or 8 winning teams. We are in the second round, which is the quarterfinals, and this is the final debate in that round. Next year, the hope of Honorable Speaker Nadir is to have regional competitions in all of the administrative regions. So youth groups would be able to participate in those. Youth groups will be able to participate, and the emerging victors in each region will then participate in the national speakers youth debating competition. Timekeeper, 10 seconds. And so we encourage youth groups to get yourselves registered with the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sport to be able to participate in those debates. And so our timekeeper has indicated that we're ready for rebuttals, and I call on Malika Russell to present the rebuttal for the opposition. Malika?
Thank you. Once again, I'm very privileged to be here, and I would like to commend the members of the proposition for their presentations today. It is our confidence in the mood to oppose Guyana's youth should undertake national registration to be heard. My team and I reinforce our position that youth should not undertake the national registration process as a precondition to be heard. The presentations by the members of the proposition today focused on accessing services and transacting businesses in Guyana. However, the mood speaks to one being heard, and I would like to reinforce the definition of being heard. To be heard means to listen or pay attention to someone or something. It is important that youth's voices be heard in all aspects of life. While the members of the proposition focus on being heard politically, we agree with you that it is embedded in our Constitution the right to be registered and to exercise your voting rights. And to the youths at the sound of my voice, if you can hear me, I would like to encourage you to get registered. However, this process is not a precondition for which youths should be heard. The members of the opposition looked at youths being heard politically, being heard as a member of civil society, as well as being heard as it relates to matters pertaining to the law. The first speaker of the proposition focused on the ID card being a way of documenting persons, whether they are legal in the country. ID card is important as established by GCOM to access businesses, whether it's identifying yourself while applying for a passport or TIN certificate. However, voting is only one aspect of which youths are being heard. So I would like to ask the proposition, whether their thoughts are that voting is the only way to be heard. My colleagues would have noted that youth's voices are being heard in this country through essay competitions and even at the youth parliament, in which these youths, if I'm correct, do not have to undertake this registration or show the National Assembly an identification card, which in some case, because they're not eligible to undertake that registration. So their voices being heard on matters pertaining to issues in society, they do robust debates in here, as Mr. December would say, and they're even being heard on the national level already at youth parliament, and they're not registered. So youths, we're in a technological age where youths use social media influences to have their voice be heard on different pertinent issues in society. So the fact that we have all these access to where we can communicate ideas and our opinions and express them in ways that causes someone to notice and consider them, the registration process is simply not a precondition for one to be restricted of their human right and the right, our constitutional right, that says that every Guyanese citizen have the right to hold and express opinions without any interference. And on that basis, I submit to you again that any interference could mean that national registration process. One should be allowed to freely express themselves, freely express their opinions, and speak on things that affect them. You know, they say that the youths are the future. In fact, youths are the present, and that's why they need to be heard, because the policies that are made today impacts them as they go along in future. The second speaker would have said, in order to be heard, one must be registered. According to whom? According to what? It is good that you have that opinion, but I would like you to change that opinion on the facts presented based on our Constitution and International Declaration of Human Rights. My colleague would have also said the migrants, when they come to our country, they have the right. Guyana does not, I repeat, we do not exist in a bubble where we can completely ignore visitors who are not coming to Guyana to register. They're only coming to visit. And if they should be robbed or abused, they should not be denied the privilege to go and make a report to the station. They should not be denied the privilege to come to our country and to raise their voices on issues that affects them while they're here. And it's important, yes, that you register for scholarships, and we all are registered, yes, to your question. But based on our constitutional rights and human rights, again, we still hold our position that youth should not undertake this national registration exercise as a precondition to be heard. I thank you.
Thank you, Malika. And now from the rebuttal from the proposition, I call on Ms. Shania Straker from Bartica Youth Group. Shania?
Honorable judges, Madam Chairperson, audience, members of the opposition, fellow members of the proposition, I, Shania Straker, rise again to reinforce my team's argument on the mood that reads, Guyana's youth should undertake national registration to be heard. We should, end of quote, we should. National registration helps our voice to be heard on a national level. Anyways, today we shall begin with the first speaker. She said that youth is defined as from ages 14 to 25. But she's contradicting the entire youth parliament, because youth is from the ages of 14 to 35 in Guyana. And I assure you, we have members on our team who is above 25. So, first speaker, you are contradicting the whole umbrella of the youth parliament. Second of all, she said to be heard is a basic human right. But would you not want to be heard from every aspect and every sphere? To be heard on a national level? Yes, it is your basic right, but if we want to be heard nationally, this is what national registration do. Third of all, you spoke about you should register to access certain services. Example 10. So aren't you agree with us, for a member of the opposition? Aren't you not contradicting your team's stance? Oh my, we are not saying that being nationally registered interrupts your voice from being heard. I'm saying that being nationally registered launches you to another level to be heard from every aspect. You said that we cannot voice our opinion if we are not registered nationally. I want to ask you a question, member of the opposition. Does voicing your opinion ensure that you are heard? Of course not. Anybody can voice their opinion, but will not be heard at the national level. Members of the anybody can voice their opinion, but will they be heard at the national level? Certainly not. Second speaker, we never said that you cannot voice your opinions, but the argument today is about undertaking national registration, which will ensure you have a voice at the highest level. Because taking part in an election determines your government. You see how being heard on a national level determines the outcome of your entire country? Second speaker, I must disagree with you. As a resident of a hinterland community, we are given the opportunity to undertake national registration. So I must say, I do not know where you got that information from. The government is currently ensuring that every hinterland region has the opportunity to undertake national registration. The third speaker said that, what about the abuse and rape? Will they not be heard? The police still listens to them. They have a voice. The police deal with those issues. But the issue today is undertaking national registration and being heard nationally. If you go to the hospital, you won't be looked after because you don't have an ID card. But how will they identify you? How will they be able to call your family to say that, well, this person is here? Now, ID card gives you an identification. You are hard automatically. Even if you are in an accident, you are still hard because your ID card is there showing that, oh, I'm a citizen of Guyana. This is me. I shall now quote something what the third speaker said. Youth shall and must be heard. Before I take my leave today, I must reiterate that Guyana's youth should undertake national registration to be heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Shania. And those were the final arguments on our moot for today. Our online audience is buzzing, and the viewers are commending both sides. They cannot choose a side. Josiah Archer is saying, watching from Maryland. We thank you for watching. You can continue to view us for the future debates. Lisa is saying, Lord, the judges have a task here. Good luck to both teams. And I do agree, I'm looking over at our judges to see if the calculations are still occurring, and they are. And so in the meantime, I invite our Public Relations Officer, Mr. Yannick December, to remind us of the rules of the competition.
The rules of the competition are as follows. Each team must consist of only 3 members, all from the same youth group. Failure to comply will result in the disqualification of the team. Once a team has started the competition, no member shall be replaced. The first speaker will be the first speaker of the proposition, followed by the first speaker of the opposition, and shall alternate in this order. The time allotted for each speaker are as follows. First speaker, 5 minutes. Second speaker, 4 minutes. Third speaker, 4 minutes. And for the rebuttal, 5 minutes. The rebuttal will be done by the first speaker on each team, in the order of opposing, then proposing. No new arguments or material shall be introduced into the rebuttal. 10 points will be deducted for introduction of new arguments. A bell will be rung first to indicate that the speaker should commence. The second bell will indicate that 1 minute is remaining, and there will be a final bell when the time has elapsed. 5 points will be deducted from each speaker who does not adhere to the allotted time. In the event of technical difficulties, a speaker may be allotted additional time. This is at the discretion of the judges. Speakers may refer to notes but should not read them. 5 points will be deducted from any speaker who reads a prepared speech. Points will be awarded for reasoning and logic, originality, relevance, mechanics, articulation, attitude to opponent, development of argument, and cohesion. And finally, the judges' decisions are final. Those are your rules for this year's Speakers National Youth Debating Competition.
In the final debate in the quarterfinals. And the best debaters of round 1 who advanced to the quarterfinals are Karamchan Sugrim from Golden Om Dharmic Youth Organization, Dimple Basdeo from the Young Professionals Youth Group, Crystal Wills from Cast Talent Management Youth Group, Carlito Williams from Bartica Youth Group, and Kosi Jupiter from West Bank Young Achievers Youth Group, Bibi Wazira Yassin from Grove Diamond Youths and Development, Latoya Bethune from Angois Avenue Youth Friendly Space, and Malika Russell from Small Steps Big Impact Youth Group. In the second round of the debates, our quarterfinals, thus far, winners are Cast Talent Management Youth Group, Angois Avenue Youth Friendly Space, Golden Ohm Dharmic Youth Organization from this morning's debate. And in a few minutes, the judges will give us the winning team from this afternoon's debate to join those other groups to advance to the semifinals. The best debaters thus far in the quarterfinals are, again, Crystal Wills, Cast Talent Management Youth Group, Tamira Reddy from Grove Diamond Youths in Development, and Sharian Mangru from the Golden Ohm Dharmic Youth Organization. While our judges take some more time to decide on the best debater and the winning team, it is indeed a difficult task. I invite Mr. Yannick December to just tell us a little bit about the competition.
Hello everyone,
Yannick?
I'm Yannick December, Public Relations Officer here in the Parliament Office. I'm also a member of the Planning Committee for the Speaker's National Youth Debating Competition, a competition which serves as a feeder into the annual Youth Parliament. Youth Parliament was first hosted in 2015 under the speakership of the Honourable Raphael Trotman. At present, Speaker of the National Assembly, the Honourable Mansour Nadir, thought it best to widen participation to allow more youths to become knowledgeable of the institution of Parliament. 16 youth groups from across our educational districts are participating in this competition. 8 of those groups will advance to participate in this year's Youth Parliament. What's in it for you, you may ask? Trophies, plaques, cash prizes, tablets, and a laptop for the best debater in the final debate. The final debate will be held at 2 p.m. on Tuesday, the 31st of May, 2022. Like last year, we are pleased to have you tune into this competition and promise that you will experience robust debates from our participants.
Thank you, Yannick. And there you had it. Some information about the Speaker's National Youth Debating Competition. Judges, are we ready? Our chief judge is saying yes, but our fingers are still on the calculator. So I'd just like to inform and remind you that following the chief judge's comments and the declaration of the winning team and the best debater, there will be the live draw of debaters and the moots for the semifinals. And that will be done by our public relations officer, Mr. Yannick December. So you can look forward, groups and our online audience, to learning who would be the participants in the semifinals. For comments from our judges, are you ready? I call on Judge Miracle Miller for her remarks.
Madam Moderator, parliamentary staff, debaters from the proposition and the opposition, a pleasant afternoon to you all. The very first thing that I would like to highlight is when we are doing a debate, we must be focused and we must observe what is happening around us. The very first speaker in her introduction said all protocols established. And in fact, protocols had not been established. Protocols are established when you have a speaker before you giving remarks to the persons around. Then you have a chance to say all protocols have been established by a previous speaker. Our second speaker came after her and also said all protocols established, when in fact the protocols still had not been established. Kindly be aware of this mistake and please make an effort not to repeat the same in future. Today's debate, it was very educational, was very informative. I loved hearing the arguments from both sides of the table. However, from some speakers, I did not notice much of voice modulation. I was looking for more zeal, more vigor, a little more pep in your voice, noting that we are all youth and this topic relates directly to us. I did enjoy the debates put forward, and I would, however, like to speak about persons reading. We are in the quarterfinals, and I would hope whoever emerges to the semifinals would prepare their arguments beforehand and not read. You can make notes, you can refer to your notes. However, blatant reading from your notes is not encouraged. We also had one speaker who went over time. As a good debater and as a good presenter, you must learn to wrap up when you hear that first bell. Prepare your arguments so that you can close off without us knowing that you weren't even finished. Kindly make an effort to practice this. In all, it was a very good debate. Very good arguments were put forward, and we got very close scores, choosing a winner. May the best team move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge Miller. And now for comments from Judge Dow Richardson.
Thank you, Madam Moderator, fellow judges, debating teams, members of the parliamentary staff, and of course to our audience tuned in online and on TV. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to commend both teams for their presentations, for their debates this afternoon. There's clear evidence of research, and I appreciate the references to United Nations documents, to the acts that govern this particular issue in relation to registration in Guyana. That's the foundation of your debate, the research that is done. So the evidence of research was there, and we appreciate that. However, I would like to echo Judge Miller's comments about reading. We did have debaters who were reading, and it shows that there is a lack of presentation or a lack of confidence in what you're saying, a lack of preparation or a lack of confidence in what you're saying. And teams lose points for reading. It's a part of the rules. So we want to, at this stage, really emphasize that whoever moves on in this competition, please desist from the reading of your scripts. Get them into your head, become saturated with them so that when you get to the podium, you can make your expressions as clearly and your articulations as clearly as possible. Additionally, there were different interpretations of the mood. This is a mood that can go in different directions. So the different interpretation shows that this is a discussion that should be ongoing in our country, because the analysis, there's food for thought, but we need to come to a general consensus that guides this very important demographic within our country. And the final point I want to make is timeliness. We want to stay within our timelines. We don't want to go over, because you'll cost your team. You could cost your team the entire debate if you don't adhere to the timelines that are set. So given that, I would like to compliment everyone, all 6 debaters, for the work that they've put in for coming this far. When we hear the results, we will know who has emerged the victor this afternoon. But all notwithstanding, well done to you both, and thank you very much, Madam Moderator.
Thank you, Judge Dow Richardson. And now for final comments from our Chief Judge, as well as the reveal of who the best debater is and the winning team, I call on Dr. Valerie Gursami-Smith. Dr. Gursami-Smith?
I would adhere to Ms. Miller's comment, and I will say all protocols observed. This afternoon, indeed, we have been treated to another discussion in the form of this debate on a very powerful topic. I believe that would gain interest at all levels in society. The focus of the debate has been on youth in the national registration principles, policies that have been established, printed, and legal ages have been specified. And therefore, I expected more of the discussion or the debate to focus on the youth or the group of youths in our society who are not given the privilege to speak or to be heard if they're not registered. I expected to hear more of that, samples or examples of cases where youths were not heard because of not having an ID. I do not think I heard any concrete cases. However, I believe to some extent some information or examples or evidence that were used were not relevant to the discussion. Like Ms. Richardson said, Dow Richardson, sorry, she said that, it seems as if the debate it was not going in a direction. There are times you want to know if you set a redefinition of your mood, you expect you to argue along those lines. But somehow, one of the teams was really bringing in things that they're reinscribing the whole mood, did not follow the discussion, did not follow completely. Nevertheless, while one team seemed calm, as if it's a simple presentation, and one team seems vibrant and they have the attitude of a debater, we got more evidence, more concrete discussion from one team more than another. And therefore, it was not difficult to draw conclusions. There were lots of strengths, again, one of my colleagues said, it's an ongoing debate. It's a very interesting topic for future discussions and conclusions to be drawn and voices to be heard. Voices to be heard, and decisions and legality to come to these decisions. So this afternoon, with all that being said, congratulations for both teams for coming so far in the debate. I want to say we are seeing efforts of more can be done in terms of research. But today, I am pleased to announce the best speaker for the debating competition today, and the best speaker came from the opposition team, Mr. Gavin Thomas. The scores today is one team got 261.4, which works out to 87.1. The other team got 298.6. That works out to 99.5. Today it's quite a pleasure and a privilege to announce the winner for today's competition. The winner is no other than the opposition team, Small Step, Big Impact. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chief Judge Dr. Valerie Gursami Smith. And congratulations, Gavin. I must say, I did have you as the best speaker. And congratulations to the Small Steps Big Impact Youth Group. Our Public Relations Officer, Mr. Yannick December, will take us through the live draw pairing of teams and moods for the semi-finals. Over to you, Yannick.
Here to reiterate protocol, Madam Moderator, esteemed judges, debaters, parliamentary staff, viewers both online and following us on television, pleasant afternoon to you all. It is my task this afternoon to generate the schedule for the live scheduling. So first, what I would like to do is to first congratulate both teams that won today. I understand that this is indeed a trying experience, and you are making the most of it, so congratulations. I would now like to share on the Zoom, and you can follow on the screen as I hit the share. Yes. Good. All right, so today What I will do is I'm going to hit generate schedule, and what it will do, of course, is the automated system is going to make those matchups for us, and you will see who will face off with whom in the semifinals. So here I go. It's going to take some time to generate, and while that is going on, I would just like to share with you the modes for the semifinals, and it is as follows. Sport is the best contributor to social cohesion, and international aggression must not be condoned. Those are the two modes for the semifinals. We are awaiting the generation process, all right? And I would just like to let you know too that the semifinals will be held on Tuesday, on the 24th of May. All right, so there we have it. If you look to the left of your screen, you're going to see the winner of qualifying the fourth match, which is, of course, yours truly, Big Steps, Big Impact Youth Group. And they will go against Angoy's Avenue Youth Friendly Space. All right. The second match at 2 p.m. would be the Golden Ohm Dharmic Youth Organization, and they will debate against Cast Talent Management Youth Group. Once again, Big Steps, Small Steps, Big Impact Youth Group will debate against the Angoy's Avenue Youth Friendly Space, and that's at 10 a.m. And at 2 p.m., it's the Golden Ohm Dharmic Youth Organization versus the Cast Talent Management Youth Group. All right, so there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Over to you, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you, Yannick. We wish both pairs well for the semifinals. Thank you to our judges. Thank you, teams. Thank you, staff. And thank you to our online viewers. Goodbye for now.